Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Wednesday Leading Change episode this week with Ziryan Salayi. Hey Ziryan, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
So yesterday we were talking about teams and how you used behavior modeling to help a team change their behavior. That's a great change tool, by the way. And as I like to call it, it's a change leadership tool, not a change management tool. And that's what we want to talk about today as well, change leadership. And we want to hear a story from you about a change process that you've been involved with, whether it's team, individual, or organization. It doesn't really matter, but we want you to go through that story and then highlight for us the tips, the tricks, the tools, the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
Yeah. There's this one time which I'm really proud of because I was helping out two teams, and teams were doing Scrum, and they struggled, and there was this manager responsible for those teams as well, and it was directed that they needed to do Scrum, and eventually it worked for them. And all of a sudden, the management team, they decided to do Scrum as well, so which was actually a very nice thing. But after 3 sprints, one of the managers came to me and said, "Yeah, Ziryan, do you have time for a one-on-one?" "Yeah, sure, no problem." Said, "Yeah, Ziryan, I've been thinking about the Scrum thing, and I've went to the PSM course, and we are now doing it as a management team as well. I don't think this Scrum thing works for us." Like, okay, sure. How come? What's bothering you? So yeah, we as managers, we have so many unpredictable work that's coming up to us. We cannot do stuff in 2 weeks. So that's why I think we should just stop doing Scrum. But I don't know how to convince the other managers.
This is actually a great story. I don't know where this story is going, but I think that phrase, I've heard that so many times. And of course, I've heard that from development teams as well, right? Here are the managers thinking they are special because they are managers. But if you go to any random team out there that is just getting started with Scrum, they'll probably say the exact same thing and think they are special. So I'm really curious to know where this story is going. Tell us more.
So what happened then? And instead of me trying to convince them why Scrum works, I asked them, "Oh yeah, that's interesting. It's a bummer that you have all this unpredictable work. Hey, by the way, one of the infrastructure team came to me, the Scrum Master came to me and said they want to stop doing Scrum." So why? And he was, of course, responsible for that team. And I said, "Well, yeah, they're doing this major change and also that works, but they have so much tickets going on and stuff like that, and
unpredictable work.
Unpredictable. So I think they should go to doing Kanban and leave Scrum all behind." "No, they can't do it." Why not?" "Yeah, if it's unpredictable, it's all about making transparent and making sure that the unpredictable work is differently." "Oh, okay. So how does it differ from your perspective?" And he was, "Oh, Ziryan, I hate you." And that was so beautiful. And talking about changing organization is reflecting on their own behavior and what happens. And at the end, for the manager, he became an advocate to supporting teams. Like, okay, I'm showing again here a role model behavior, and they made transparent actually to the whole organization that their commitment to the sprint goal, that they did not meet it, that they had like 70% unpredictable work, all blunt on the sprint review, which they had. Making transparent, showing the example. And that was, of course, if you want to change an organization, yeah, that's a very beautiful one.
Yeah, and it is yet another example of behavior modeling. Yeah. And in this case, it was the managers modeling the behavior that they wanted the teams to take. And this is why I love that conversation. I unknowingly set it up because I've been in that conversation so many times as well, right? And let me say the managers are the ones that need Scrum the most, by the way. But when you started talking about that, oh yeah, there's this other team that has the same problem and they also want to drop Scrum. Should we move them into Kanban. And I think that was brilliant because that caused, and I think this is the role of the Scrum Master, which you just exemplified beautifully, that creates this opportunity for self-reflection through a very simple psychological mechanism, which is projection, right? Like, okay, now if I talk about the team, I set rules on the team, so I want them to follow the rules, but I don't want to follow those rules myself. And you go like, show the mirror and say, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So you're telling the team they have to follow the rules, but then you're saying you can't follow the rules? Mm-hmm. And you did it without actually saying that, which is brilliant, right? You just use the example and say, hey, that's true. There's this other team. We should do it too. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
Right? Let's learn from each other, which would have been a great way forward as well. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. So exactly. And what also here helps is that once a reflection was there, I also help them on, okay, now let me help you to make transparent where it comes from, where the unpredictable work come from. So we had a commitment from the managers to say, okay, every thing which is unpredictable and comes up during the sprint, we put it down on Post-its on a different color. So at the end, at the sprint retrospective or at the sprint review, you have just this visual overview of, oh, look at that, how much unpredictable work. And then in the sprint retrospective, we could talk about, okay, so how can we improve some of them? Were they necessary? Could we have said, no, let's put it on the product backlog? Or was it so important that we had to do it now? And I think that's also an important thing for us as Scrum Masters in our toolbox. Not only reflect, but also help them and visualize, like make things transparent, visualize the change, visualize how things happen. And that's also very, very important and supporting them.
Absolutely. So that was mirroring so that it helps reflection. And once the reflection comes, take advantage of the motivation to act and support that.
Yeah.
Offer support. I think that's a great way. And here's an example. We talk a lot about organizational changes. We've had a few episodes about individual changes, but here's an example where you're supporting the change within a team. Yeah. That the team wants to go through. It's not, top down or even bottom up. It's like the team is working on something that only affects them. Of course, it affects the people they manage as well, but they are the ones deciding, right? Nobody's telling them you need to do this. And they go through that change, perhaps without even calling it change, right? And I think that's the aspect I want to highlight when I talk about change leadership is exactly what you just did. It's like, mirror, help reflect, and then when the need for change comes from the team, we support it, we amplify it.
Yes. Yeah, we don't let them go, we don't let them swim, we help them implement actually the change.
Absolutely. Yeah. A great story. Thank you for sharing that, Ziryan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role. We'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.